Y'all eat today, y'all drink today, good. Today we create new Street Fighter characters based off of lesser known martial arts on the series where I design new fighting game characters and invite you to do the same. Welcome back to
Choose Your Fighter.
In Street Fighter, we got multiple Street Fighters representing different kickboxing styles. For one, we got DJ, Sagat, Add-on, but there is a style of kickboxing that is insanely cool but isn't really talked about as much as the others, and that is Lethwei, otherwise known as the Art of Nine Limbs. On the surface, it's pretty similar to Muay Thai, but there is one key difference that sets it apart from not only Muay Thai, but other types of kickboxing. And that is the ninth limb in the Art of Nine Limbs, the headbutt. And as you can assume, hitting somebody with your goddamn dome makes it one of the most brutal and intense martial arts that you will ever see. So let's go ahead and build this character that we're designing around using headbutts, making it their sort of calling card. So I thought, what else could I add to this character to make them more unique besides the fact that they use Lethwei? Then the gears started turning, thinking about different things that involve your head somehow. And then I got it. Our Lethwei fighter is going to be a heavy metal headbanger. I picture them being this band member, maybe a guitarist or a bassist. But you know what, now that I think about it, now that I'm saying it out loud, maybe a drummer, because she's a fighter, and it'd be one of the most aggressive instruments she could go with in a band. And while her band travels, she can take that opportunity to challenge anybody in that town. Getting up on stage, taking the mic after an encore, and letting everybody in the crowd know, and everybody watching at home know, that while she's in town, she is going to be waiting outside for the greatest, the best, and the brightest fighters that that city has to offer. And I really feel like that could be something that's taken advantage of when we look at her coming into Street Fighter 6 and how she could play into the World Tour mode. Picture there's this mission where you have to go out and see all these flyers, and you see a bunch of other Street Fighters wearing the band's t-shirt that our Lethwei character belongs to. And then when you're walking around the main hub on one of those giant screens in the middle of the city, you could get a live performance video of her doing what I said earlier, grabbing the mic and challenging any fighters that want to step up. And since the point of World Tour is to find the meaning of strength, of course you're gonna go to this new person that is so strong that she's challenging each and every person in every city that she visits. So to sum up our character, before we get to drawing her, she is going to be a Lethwei master who is also a heavy metal band drummer who is brash, arrogant, and ready for a fight at any time. Okay, let's go ahead and see what she looks like. Now here we have our Lethwei fighter representing Myanmar, Zaya. For Zaya's design, I wanted to go for a very rough and rugged look, given that her fighting style is very brutal and hard-hitting, and so is the music that she plays. So starting off down below, I gave her some big old stomping boots, and then for her pants, I made them very patchwork and torn up to sort of fit that grungy vibe. And then on top of that, I gave her this long gi around her waist, which is basically just a loungewear skirt that's worn commonly in Myanmar. Then on top of that, I gave her a t-shirt that is rocking the logo of her band that I decided to call Stone Dome, with the Pachycephalosaurus, my favorite dinosaur by the way, as their mascot. Then as we look outward, I gave her some wraps around her arms as well as bands around her biceps that are commonly seen in Lethwei. And finally on her head, I wanted to make it the center of attention when looking at her, the point of focus. So starting here, you can see that her teeth are missing because she has spent so much time headbutting people in the face and not really caring about her own safety, and she doesn't have time to get them fixed because that's time taken away from headbutting people in the face. So why would she do that? Then on her head is a Hong Kong headband, and under that headband is a spiked helmet, and I want that to be the sort of focus point with all of her moves, because her moveset should be based around headbutting. All of her specials, supers, all of that. So I thought it'd be fun if she had this mechanic where her heavy punch and heavy kick are replaced with headbutts. And with each headbutt landed, she can get a buff of some kind. Maybe each headbutt sort of stacks so she does more damage with each one, or maybe after a headbutt, the next headbutt would guarantee a crumple state, or maybe something simple like the headbutts are just super armored, etc, etc. You get where I'm going, right? Anyway, for her super and critical art, I can see her bringing you to the crowd of one of her shows, where she pieces you up with a Lethwei combo, knocking you into the crowd, having them mosh pit and just stomp all over you. Then they crowd surf, throw you back onto the stage for her to hit a massive headbutt, cracking your skull. Now that we got our Lethwei fighter done, let's go ahead and go from a martial art based in Myanmar to a martial art based in Hawaii with Lua, an ancient martial art taught to higher status warriors that encompasses a whole hell of a lot of shit in its teachings, like joint manipulation, bone breaking, weapon usage, nerve strikes, and a lot more, because this was a martial art that was taught to be used in war. So with all the different things that Lua teaches, I wanted to give this character a sense of arrogance and pride in all the things he knows about taking somebody down. I picture him being the character that knows a lot of shit, knows he knows a lot of shit, and will let you know that he knows a lot of shit constantly. So I was trying to look for different things in Hawaiian folklore or mythology or just culture in general that I could use to influence his character, and while I was looking, I came across the evil spirit from Hawaiian mythology, Kaupe. Kaupe is this eerie dog spirit that hides among the mist in the night that used to rule the Nuuanu Valley, but now he calls to people in the mist, luring them to their deaths. And I want to try to figure out how I can take that sort of bare bones concept of Kaupe and sort of rework it and break it apart and build it back together to get a more sort of modern Street Fighter retake of what the Kaupe story is. So I was just throwing ideas back and forth in my head until I thought maybe he could be some sort of hacker that leaves secret messages on fighters' phones telling them to meet him up in remote locations for a one-on-one fight where he can promise some sort of grand $1 million prize or something like that. Then after he beats them, he takes their phone and sends out this crazy hacker video, something like this is a random ass pull, but you know the scene with Zod from Man of Steel when he's talking to Earth and telling everybody to bring him Kal-El? Well, basically the video would look like that, but it's telling all of the contacts in that fighter's phone that, hey, this fighter just got their ass whooped by some random mysterious person, and that random mysterious person is looking for more people's asses to whoop. And wherever he fights, there will always be a spray painted symbol of a wild dog on a chain, maybe like a bulldog or something, kind of like a calling card of his. Then we could get something cool of you checking your phone in a world tour, and while you're checking your phone, it's gonna glitch out, and then you'll get that message that I talked about, and then you have to go on a hunt for the Lua character to try to learn from them or finally take them out for good. So where Kaupe lures people to their deaths with a mist, our Lua character lures people to get their ass whooped with technology. Does that make sense? I hope it does, because I'm kind of rambling right now, but anyway, let's go ahead and see what our hacker Lua fighter looks like. Everyone say hello to Kaimana. First thing we're going to look at is his collar and his dog-eared headphones to tie back into his influence, Kaupe. And since I kind of wanted to be a fucking douchebag, I went ahead and gave him the whole no shirt jacket look so he could literally puff his chest out and also show off his 2 tribal tattoos I have on both of his shoulders. Then for his outfit, I went for a bit of a tech wear look with some of those cyber industrial patterns. And then I wanted to keep his color palette mostly blues because I want him to be able to control water. Because as I was drawing him and trying to figure out what his moveset would be, I can't really think of any like water controlling characters in Street Fighter. We got thunder, we got fire, we got earth, but from my memory, I can't really think about water, so let's go ahead and give that to him. And as far as his moveset goes, I can see him being kind of a grappler, sorta in the same vein as Sean's sister, whose name I can't fucking remember right now for some reason. Maybe he can have some kind of slash move where the water he controls forms into a Kue that slashes and digs into the opponent to pull them in for more close range grabs. Then for his level 3 in critical art, I can see him taking you into a bunch of different brutal submissions and locks and takedowns, jumping on you like a wild dog until finally he does this neck snapping motion with this burst of water around you, and before the neck snapping motion is actually seen, the camera glitches out before it gets too gruesome, and then it comes back on with him posing like an asshole over his opponent's limp body. Okay, now that we have our Lua fighter from Hawaii, let's go ahead and take a trip down to Europe, because for this character, we are going to be combining two different martial arts that both ultimately have the same goal of preserving the arts of dueling, knighthood, swordplay, and medieval battle with HEMA and Bohurt. Now, HEMA, meaning historical European martial arts, focuses more on fencing and swordplay while reviving old European fighting styles, while also giving it a more modern take by using more modern gear specifically made for HEMA, while Bohurt, instead of focusing on the swordplay, uses the full spectrum of whatever knightly weapons you can think of, all while decked out in full medieval plate armor. Competitions can be 1v1 or 10v10 or 150 v 150, so shit can get kinda crazy. But with this character, I really want to focus on the point of this martial arts, and that is history. And while I was thinking about that while sketching one of the previous characters, something popped up on my TV that gave me a very interesting idea. You see, I also play D&D, and on my TV was the D&D show, Critical Role, and one of the characters in Critical Role is named Ford Stone. He is what's called a Hexblade Warlock. A Hexblade Warlock is a character that has a weapon that is being possessed by some otherworldly entity. And that made me think we can bring this concept to this Street Fighter character by giving the character this old ancient family heirloom that was passed down from generation to generation to generation, but the first person to hold it was one of the most feared warriors in their nation. How about, since we don't have any Street Fighter characters from Belgium, let's go ahead and make the original holder of that heirloom one of the most decorated knights in Belgium's history. And the spirit of that knight still stays within that heirloom to this day. And the person who has been given this heirloom in this current timeline, and the family member who currently holds that heirloom, should be somebody that has nothing to do with street fighting or battle or combat in the slightest. How about it be some sort of college student that's in the prime of their life but is constantly being called to battle by that ancient knight spirit in the family heirloom, essentially giving us a 2-in-1 character. This odd couple dynamic between the old school knight and the new school kid just trying to live their life. Now, let's go ahead and see what they look like. Here we have our HEMA / Bohurt fighter, Aline. Starting off with that jersey and shorts that they're wearing, I wanted to look for a good way to show off that them being a fighter is not their main primary goal. And I thought a good way to do that was by giving her something to wear that shows off what she actually likes to do, and that's being a college athlete. Then I wanted all the padding and gear on her body to feel like it was slapped on quickly. And that gear is inspired by different armor sets I saw in HEMA and Bohurt. Then for their shield, I wanted to give her something that felt like it was used and taken in the moment and just kinda stuck. And the stop sign felt like a pretty funny way to get that point across, so we went ahead with that one. Then finally, we have that family heirloom, that brooch that is on her waist that holds the knightly spirit of Aline's ancestor, and in her hand is the busted down and broken sword that belonged to said ancestor. And for her moveset, I can see her being a very poke-heavy character with long range and long limbs, and the ancestor projecting a ghostly spectral blade out of that broken down sword is going to be where all of her specials and supers come from. Speaking of supers, for her level 3 in critical art, I picture her raising that sword in the sky, and doing this empowers the spirit of her ancestor so much that that ancestor is able to summon the ghost of all of his former colleagues and fellow knights, as well as their horses, to stampede over the opponent. Now for our next fighting style, we're gonna base a character off of. Let's go ahead and leave Europe and go ahead down to Asia, focusing on China and focusing on the martial art known as Mad Dog Fist. Now, this martial art has a bit of a weird and different backstory compared to the other ones. It was created by this man known as Qin Hagao. He was constantly bullied and beaten growing up, so he seeked to learn Kung Fu to hopefully defend himself. But he got disheartened and eventually dropped out of his school when he witnessed his master getting jumped by a bunch of people. So instead, he decided to make his own martial art. A martial art that throws honor, tradition, and art out the window, and decided to focus solely on brutality, violence, and making sure that you are the one that walks away. And if you think that sounds fucking wild, look at the way he actually fights, and you won't even know what wild means anymore. Now, the name of his style is called Unlimited Combat, but because of his crazy and out there movements, it earned the nickname of Mad Dog Fist. The style focuses on loud barks, unpredictable and fidgety movements, fighting dirty with scratches and bites, and attacking vital areas like the eyes, the throat, and the Johnny Cage special. It also teaches people to grab any small thing around you and use it as a weapon, most famously, scissors. Now, everything to do with Qin Hagao and Mad Dog Fist is interesting as shit, and I thought it would be perfect for a Street Fighter character. But if you want to learn more about Unlimited Combat, go ahead and check out this video, or Ranton's video, that explores the weird and crazy times of Qin Hagao and Mad Dog Fist. But for how to adopt this style into a Street Fighter character, first I wanted to focus on the scissors, because I kind of want this character to play like how Cody does when he has his knife. And then I thought, what type of person would be somebody that uses scissors on a day-to-day basis? Then I eventually settled on a seamster. And when you think of a seamster, your mind is going to go to somebody that is very refined and dignified and calm, and that's perfect to juxtapose their fighting style of something that is extremely ruthless and chaotic. So let's make this character somebody who is a well-mannered and uptight seamster while on the clock, but when off of the clock, he is somebody that needs that raw, unadulterated violence in his life. He gets a downright high off of battle, but you can't obviously bring that into his place of work, so on his downtime, he goes stalking around the night looking for somebody that can bring him a fight that he needs. One fight after another, after another, after another, after another, after another, after another, going sleepless through the nights because he cannot get enough of the feeling of the adrenaline pumping through his body when he meets somebody one-on-one for a battle. So now that we have that down, let's go ahead and meet our final Street Fighter character for the day. And now we have our final Street Fighter for the day, Theo, who I'm gonna make from Canada, because I'm gonna be honest, Canada doesn't have the best luck with Street Fighter characters. I'm just saying. And for Theo's design, I really wanted to focus on that contrast between his day job as a seamster and his nighttime fighting antics as somebody that uses a Mad Dog Fist. Starting off with his sweater, pants, and belts, I wanted them to feel very designer and very neat and well put together. And the same goes for his haircut. I wanted to go for this high taper fade with a design on the side and very sharp sideburns, as well as some designer glasses to go with him. Then on his shoulder, I gave him this long designer leather coat hanging off of it, and underneath is the arm that he uses to hold his scissors. and that arm is all scarred up from all the fights that he's been in. But when he's not fighting, that arm is usually covered up by the coat, so you don't immediately get a look at the sheer violence that this man craves. Then for how he plays, I can see him being somewhat of a wrecker character, with unpredictable mix-ups to go with the unpredictable fighting style that is unlimited combat. And finally, for his level 3 and critical art, I can see him rushing at you with several different cuts and stabs and slashes, with those scissors coming at you from several different directions that you're not expecting, then leaving you laid out unconscious. And while you're unconscious, he'll go ahead and throw his business card at you and let it lay on your chest so you can call him to fix up that outfit that he just tore to shreds. Thank y'all sincerely for checking out the video. I hope you enjoyed. If you have a favorite of my fan-made Street Fighters, go ahead and let me know in the comments. If I got any facts wrong about the martial arts that these Street Fighters are based off of, please let me know in the comments. Just try not to be a fucking asshole about it. And also, if you have your own Street Fighter characters that you made up, go ahead and let me know about them in the comments, as well as if you drew them, you can show me that drawing on BLUESKY, and while you're there, you might as well follow. Then if you like these videos and want to help them come out more frequently and even better, you can go ahead and donate to my Ko-fi if you're feeling so kind, and become a YouTube member to get some exclusive content, including getting a shout out on these videos. So shout out to my channel members, Addict with the Art and 20to1. Now if you like the art that you saw in these videos and want to commission me to make some custom art from me for you, you can find my rate and how to do that through my commission site. And with all that being said, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell button, tell a friend, and most importantly, take care of yourself. I know things are tough right now, but I promise you we will get through it. I've been HEMA Breezy, I was here, and I did the best I can. Later.
I know that you'll be back.